Today, we're diving into the core argument of Jonathan Haidt's really important book, The Anxious Generation. It looks at this huge, sudden change in what it means to be a kid, a change that Haidt believes is right at the center of the mental health crisis we're seeing in young people. The book kicks off with this wild analogy. Sending your kid to Mars? Of course not. But what's Haidt really getting at here? His point is, we've already done it. We've basically sent a whole generation to a brand new, completely untested virtual world without really thinking about the consequences.
And that leads us to the big question the book tries to answer. What on earth happened to Gen Z? Why is it that starting in the early 2010s, things like anxiety, depression, and self-harm just exploded among teenagers? What could have possibly changed so fast and so dramatically? Okay, so let's get into the evidence. Because the data Haidt lays out tells a story that's pretty hard to ignore. He calls it a tidal wave of suffering, and you're about to see it came on with terrifying speed. For decades before this, rates of teen anxiety and depression were, well, they were a concern, but they were pretty stable. But then, right around 2012, the lines on all the graphs just take this sharp, vertical turn. It wasn't a slow buildup, it was a sudden break from every trend we'd seen before, and it happened in a whole bunch of countries all at once. And this graph is fascinating because it shows us exactly who is being hit the hardest. Just look at those bottom lines. That's Gen X and the boomers. Pretty flat, right? But then look at the top line for young adults, 139% increase. That is staggering. It makes it crystal clear that this isn't just a general societal problem. It is overwhelmingly a crisis for our younger generation.
And this chart right here, this one is so important. It shows that we're not just talking about kids being more open about their feelings. Nope. This is hard, tragic data. Actual hospital visits for self-harm. Now, the 48% jump for boys is bad enough, but for teen girls, a 188% spike. That is just catastrophic. Haidt argues this huge difference between boys and girls points right at the visual, comparison-heavy social media platforms that really took off in the early 2010s. So we have a pretty clear what and a pretty clear when. The obvious next question is why? What caused this? Haidt puts forward this really powerful theory he calls the Great Rewiring of Childhood. He is basically saying that in just a few short years, we completely changed what it means to grow up. We traded in a play-based childhood, one filled with actual, physical, unsupervised play where you learn social skills face-to-face, for a phone-based one that's lived through screens, shaped by algorithms, and happens in this disembodied virtual space. And this right here is the absolute core of the argument. It's a paradox. For years, we've been trying to make the real world safer and safer for kids, taking away their independence because we're scared. But at the exact same time, we handed them these powerful devices that gave them total access to a virtual world we didn't understand, leaving them with, well, basically no protection at all. So what happens when you have this great rewiring? What are the actual results? Well, Haidt argues it's not just some general feeling of being unwell. He says it caused 4 specific, foundational harms to the way young minds develop. Think of these as the 4 horsemen of the phone-based childhood. First, you've got social deprivation. Kids are just spending way less time in face-to-face situations where they learn super important skills, like how to read body language or work out a disagreement. Second, sleep deprivation. The blue light from phones in the bedroom, the endless scrolling, it just destroys the sleep that is absolutely essential for mental health. Third is attention fragmentation. Their ability to focus just gets shattered by this constant stream of pings and notifications, making it almost impossible to think deeply. And last, addiction. Let's be honest, these apps are designed to be as addictive as a slot machine. You put all 4 of those together, and you've got a perfect storm for messing up healthy development. Okay, we've just laid out the core of the problem, and I know, it's a lot to process. Before we switch gears and talk about the solutions, which is actually the most hopeful part of all this, I just wanted to ask a quick favor. If you're getting value from this summary, please take a second to hit the like button, share it, and subscribe to my channel Wealth Notes. It honestly helps me make more content like this. All right, thank you for that. Now let's get to that hopeful part I mentioned. Because this book isn't just about what's wrong, it's also a roadmap for how to fix it. After presenting all this pretty bleak evidence, Haidt really turns a corner with an urgent call to action, and he offers some very concrete steps we can all take. He suggests 4 big new norms for us to follow. First, no smartphones before high school. Let kids have basic phones to call and text, but without all the addictive apps. Second, no social media before age 16. This gives kids' identities a chance to grow strong before they're put under the pressure of algorithms and likes. Third, phone-free schools. Simple as that. Create places where kids can focus and actually talk to each other. And finally, and maybe this is the most important one, we have to push for more free play and independence in the real world so kids can build up their own resilience and confidence. And here is the real key to the solution. It's all about collective action. It is incredibly hard for just one family or one parent to say no when every other kid has a phone. But if whole groups of parents, or entire schools, or even whole communities decide to do this together, then all that pressure on individual kids just vanishes. And suddenly, making this change isn't just possible, it's actually pretty easy. And that really brings us to the book's final, powerful message. This past decade, it's been a massive, uncontrolled experiment on our kids. And now, the results are in, and they are not good. Hate's call to action is simple but profound. It's time to end the experiment. It's time to undo the great rewiring and bring our children back to a childhood that's grounded in the real world. Thank you so much for watching this summary of The Anxious Generation.